Because the deacon is present, the lectors will not enter the church with the procession, but will begin in their pews. When it is time for their reading, the lectors will come forward, bow at the steps, and proceed to read from the ambo. They will return to their seat after the reading. Ethan has the first reading, and Jill has the second reading. After the homily, Father Haugen will invite the children who will read the petitions to come forward. When the children come forward to read, the ushers should also stand and walk to the back, where they will take the collection baskets, leaning against the wall. When the children have finished reading the intercessions, the ushers will walk all the way to the front of the pews and bow. Ashley will walk on the outside left. Shannon Scally will walk on the inside left. Scott Cucciarella will walk on the inside right. And Shannon Cucciarella will walk on the outside right. Once you get to the front and bow, you walk back gathering the collection, and I will be in the back to put it into one large basket. Regarding communion, for communion we're trying to make things move more quickly, but still allow family and guests to be close to the child when that child receives First Communion. So the positions and the number of the ministers of Holy Communion are a bit precise. After the sign of peace, the ministers should come forward and stand here. I'll give all the extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion name tags so that Father and the deacon will know whether to give you a plate or a cup, because it will be indicated on your name tag. Jenny Winter will give communion from the plate to the choir, standing about here. This is the left side of the church facing the altar. Anne Warwick will distribute from the cup and stand here directly in front of the holy water font. Karen Schmid will also have a cup and be standing here next to the pillar. This is the right side of the church facing the altar. Kelly Halderman will be standing here directly in front of the holy water font on this side with a cup. And Martha Rylander will distribute from a cup standing here next to the pillar. Dan Murphy will have a plate and distribute on the right side facing the altar, standing right here. Deacon Joe will also have a plate and be distributing on the left side facing the altar, standing here. Dan and the deacon should stand as close to the outside aisle as possible at the beginning of communion. When the ministers are in place, I will invite the first family to come forward. The child and the parent will come out of their pews and walk directly up to Father Haugen. He will give the parents communion and then the child. Meanwhile, as the rest of the family files out of the pew, I will direct them to line up along the front of the pews on the side that they were sitting. The idea here is that the parents are right up close with the family still at least in view. Father's going to be giving communion to the parents and then the child. The deacon and Dan will start giving communion to the other family members who are lined up. Start distributing communion immediately once they are lined up. Don't wait. This is important, and it's important to move quickly down the line from person to person. They're going to be standing in place while you go from person to person distributing communion. Once you have finished distributing communion, move all the way back near the outside aisle so that the next family that comes out of the pews is going to move all the way out and go to you. We want to make sure the family goes all the way over. Ministers holding the cup, make yourselves available to anyone who wishes to receive. Some will and some won't. Shannon Scally and Scott Cucciarella, as ushers, could you come forward when the extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion have taken their places and communion is just about to start? And after I've invited that first family forward, if you would start to invite the families forward one at a time, alternating sides. It's also important that we don't want any time in between families receiving communion, any time in between. So there should always be a family standing in line, ready to move forward as soon as Father becomes available to give communion. I'll stand right up here directing families, so don't worry if there's even one or two families in line at a time. It's better to have that than no families in line and everyone waiting while families come forward from the very back and slowly walk forward. When communion is finished, return the plates to the altar and the cups to the credence table near Father's chair. If you're an extraordinary minister of Holy Communion or an usher, you can come near to Father whenever your child is receiving, to be there next to them while they're receiving. Thank you very much for helping out with this celebration to make it a wonderful celebration for everyone.